Welcome everybody to another week of Buccaneer Insider. We are back and we've got a good one, a very informative episode for you this week. Killian McClatchy, Nicholas Case, as always. In this, the episode we're dubbing the Back to Play episode, Nick.
Yeah, we've got our strength and conditioning coach and somebody from our athletic training just to let you know what the student athletes and people like us, not so much for athletic or the weight stuff, but people like us are going for, to show how safe and how serious they are about the safety of student athletes and the people on campus and the procedures going into it. And like you said, it's informative. I've been around it, but I learned new things, and that's makes me feel a little bit safer because we're in uncertain times, as the commercials always tell us, and anything to make you feel a little safer is great.
And who knows, maybe the weight stuff. Maybe we did a little snippet of
We'll
part of
see.
the interview with Brandon.
We'll see.
Maybe.
You don't get a body like this by weight training.
It's powered by McFlurries.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it.
Well, we'll quit talking. We'll get right to things. Before we do, though, always, we want to send a special thanks to our presenting sponsor for Buccaneer Insider, East Bay Deli. Be sure to check them out and, carry out, dine in, and delivery. That's one of the nicest things. They do deliver, so you can check out East Bay Deli. We mentioned our episode this week. We've got two very important people, kind of on the front lines and a little more behind the scenes, as we've got the Director of Strength and Conditioning, Brandon Gilbert, joining us. He's going to be the first one that we've got up, and it was a fun conversation with Brandon. And Brandon's he's a fun guy. He's
a ball of energy, man. And he left us briefly, and you didn't realize how much that sort of thing was missed until he came back. And especially since he came back from Coastal Carolina, he really made the better choice in coming back here.
He certainly did. We're glad he's back. I'm sure the student athletes are glad that he's back, and we're looking forward to being able to get back on campus with him and hang out some more and spend some time with that ball of energy.
And maybe hit the weights. We'll see.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, look, if he's as good as his job as he comes off to seem, which I feel like he is, I'm sure he could probably get us to go in there a little bit. Just the way that he was able to talk to us seems very, very energetic, very positive.
Yeah, I'm not going to match his bench anytime soon, but you'll find out what it is in the episode. And even then, he says that's weak. All right, whatever, dude.
Yeah, crazy. Well, we'll quit talking. We'll get on to it. First guest this week, Brandon Gilbert, Director of Strength and Conditioning. Welcome in. We've got our first guest of this week, and it's a pretty important one in the grand scheme of things, I'd say, and it's a bit of a welcome back to CSU. We've got Brandon Gilbert, the Director of Strength and Conditioning. And hey there, Brandon, how you doing? What's been up with you? I know that's kind of the basic question everybody asks the first time they see somebody in forever.
Oh, man, I'm doing good. Definitely different times in our profession right now, because you have everything planned out. Got back here in January, and we got a good 7 weeks in. So it was like, okay, so spring ball, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna transition to discretionary. Then summer one, we're gonna do this, and then next thing you know, out of the blue, this COVID-19 stuff hit, and it's like, well, things don't ever go as planned, but you got to adjust, you got to adapt, and really it's been a blessing in disguise on all fronts, because I got a 3-year-old daughter. She stays up in Greenville, so I got to spend a lot more time with her, and so a blessing in disguise there, and then really a lot more time in the Word of God and just developing as a Christian man and stuff like that. And then it's still perfecting my craft as a strength coach. Me and the rest of the staff, we were still getting together, doing a lot of research, talking on a lot of online Zoom calls with other strength coaches, and really mastering our craft, perfecting our craft to get to this point where we're at now. And we feel like we're better strength coaches and better men than we were before COVID hit. And so, like I said, I treated it as a blessing in disguise. And most people who during this time, they either were chilling and relaxing, or they were still sharpening their swords and perfecting their crafts, even through the pandemic and adjusting on the fly. So we feel good, we feel ready, and we're excited to move forward with this thing now, and just really itching to get back at it.
Be honest, before we came on, did you do a little party pumps, get a little extra swole?
Nah, I didn't get it in yet. Got to get it in at some point later. We actually came back from the mall. We got some strength staff gear. We're gonna whip out some all black forces, all black out. When the guys come back. So I know Coach Denson and the rest of the staff will love it when they see it. But but yeah, we definitely gonna get that pump in probably afterwards. I didn't want to come in too yoked, too intense at first with that thing.
Don't want to make us look worse than we already do. So.
Well, I mean, we'll kind of get right into the biggest question is, you mentioned trying to get everything back going with COVID-19 happening. And you mentioned how you showed up at the start of the year, you're able to get a couple of weeks in and then everything stopped. And, going forward, there's still so much up in the air with everything when it comes to sports and the university as a whole. But what are your guys' plans when it comes to the programs and the weight room and just what do you guys plan on doing?
We're still going to keep it simple. Our philosophy and our principles, they don't change. Obviously, the only thing that will change is the workload and the volume will have to decrease a little bit, and everything's going to be off of what we see from the guys and stuff like that. Even in a normal summer, the program never goes as planned. Like we got a program written up that we've all tried out. We tried out the list and things like that, but it still never goes as planned because everybody's just different. So you have to adapt on the fly anyway. And then more so now in this COVID, because you really don't know who's been doing what. But I got faith in our guys that they've been working and they've been getting after it, and they'll come in ready and they'll be prepared. But we'll keep it simple. So like NSCA is, so say we'll normally do a conditioning test of just say 18 110s. So on that day one, we'll reduce it by 50%, and we would do 9 110s. If we do 20 double Princetons, we'll do 10 double Princetons just to see if they can handle it. Because if they can't handle that 50% reduction, then they're not going to be able to move forward to what we need to do. So we got to build that work capacity and that general prep before we move on and progress. But we still going to do what we do. It's a little tweak. The biggest tweak is we got about 10 plus groups because we got to keep them in groups of 8. So instead of running first within that first phase, we're going to actually lift first because that's going to be an easier transition to lift to run versus running to lifting. And we got groups coming in clockwork. So the workouts will be a little bit shorter in the weight room. We won't be able to get down into the bolts. We're still going to get some good work. And then we'll make the main thing on the running. And it's going to be good work. It's going to be different from those guys because it's a lot different to go out on the field and run after you squatted and after you power cleaned and deadlift and stuff. So their legs will be heavy, but I think it's good adversity and it's going to be good discomfort for them for a growth standpoint. But like I said, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to do what we do. We're going to keep the pace up. We're going to keep the tempo up. We're just going to keep more of an eye on things. If guys have red flags, if they're out of shape and things like that, and obviously communicating with Brad Drake and his athletic training staff. But you'll hear a lot of strength coaches around it that they're scrambling right now. They're talking about county fairs outside and things like that. But if you know what works, you keep doing what you do. You keep it simple. Obviously, it's going to be different than it was in a normal setting. But we're still going to pull. We're still going to press. We're still going to push. And we're going to still run. We're still going to sprint. We're still going to do everything that we do. We're just going to reduce the load just a bit, and we're going to see how they adapt to that reduced load. And if they knock it out the park, then that's great. But if they don't knock it out the park, then now we can see how we adjust and adapt on the fly. Everything's on the fly. Everything's adapted. We got everything planned out and scripted. But like I said before, you just got to look at the eye of everything and see how they react. Because if guys are breaking down during sprinting, we got to cut it short. Because, I mean, if they're just jogging through a metabolic circuit or jogging through a repeated sprint, then they're not getting no work through that. So we need to cut it short, and everything's going to be out the eye. Because we know who's going to work, and we know we can gauge. We got a group of athletes who we can really gauge off of to see if they are pushing through or if they can't push through. And we know it. So we had a group in June, Justin McIntyre, Nick Sally, Jack Chambers, Geo Wall, all those guys, Miller Braddock, they got in here and they adapted really quick after about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And at the end of the cycle, every last one of them said they feel like they can play right now. Like they can go into camp right now. So that made me feel good. So we get the rest of the guys here. Hopefully they will say the same thing because camp's going to be there when we're done and they'll be like, I'm ready to roll. So that was good to see with that little small group that we had. And it's going to be fun to develop them as we go from here. We're ready, we're excited, and we just can't wait to get at it.
During lockdown, did any teams or just athletes in general reach out to you to see what they could do at home to try to keep some physical shape going?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. So we were sending at-home workouts, especially when gyms started to close and everybody had just their house and their yard and stuff. But, you know, we treated it as another blessing in disguise. That made sure everything was even. It was an even level playing field. Everybody had a yard. Everybody can get at it in the road. Everybody got body weight so they could do some type of push-ups. So we were writing out programs and things like that, making it fun. So like shrugs, we told them to put a bag of bricks, a bag of rocks to get some shrugs in, fill up bags with sandbags and stuff like that, and still did the same type of movements, like still squatted, still pulled, still pressed and things like that. Sent different videos out through the COVID to keep them engaged. And a lot of things that we did with another blessing in disguise really was, particularly with the football team, we had what we call Buccaneer Mindset, where once a week we got the guys together and we just, we shared heartstrings. We talked leadership things, just different topics. And it went from me leading it into us empowering the players, and they started leading it. So mentally and physically, I feel like we got better over this COVID period, and we just adapted and adjusted. And then, like Coach Denson always said, is coach fed, player led, and we want a player led program. So, and it's the same thing in the weight room. We try to empower them. So, the biggest way to get empowered is you shut down all the gyms around, and all you got to look at yourself in the mirror and get after it yourself. You don't got a coach waking you up and blowing in your face and say, let's go, let's go. You got to dig down deep, and you got to wake up, and you got to get the reps on your own, because only you and God knows what you're doing. But we don't know what they did, but that's between them and God. And if they did the work, the harvest is going to pop up because they put the seed in the ground. So yeah, we did all of that, the at homes and stuff like that. It was different, but it definitely made you a better strength coach, because everybody had to adapt and adjust and think outside of the box and ways to get guys engaged and ways to get guys to keep working and stuff like that. So they was communicating, and that was the biggest thing. They would text me and tell me, hey, I got this. What do I need to do with this? Or I don't have this, but I have this. So, yeah, and they adjusted that way. So it was fun. It's been fun.
Another thing that I know that you're pretty big on pretty much everywhere that you've been, and now here at CSU, is nutrition. And it's such a big deal for, especially for these student athletes, what they put into their bodies. So, can you just touch a little bit on kind of why is that so important? Getting that right food, and what's some of the go-tos that you kind of recommend for the athletes when they come through?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Nutrition is key. Steve Houston, who I just hired back in April, he's actually getting his nutrition certification in about a month. So, I empowered him to oversee everything with nutrition-wise, because obviously I'm big on that. We've got a lot of stuff going on, so why not hire a guy that is also passionate about nutrition, and he could handle it and make that his own. And things like, we were big on the rice. Coach Denson, when I first got here back from Coastal, I told him, Coach, we need rice. As long as we got the rice cooking, I'm good with it. And everybody looking at me like, rice? Like, why rice? Well, it's an old bodybuilding, old powerlifting trick where the most things you deplete during a workout, everybody thinks protein. Yes, you do need protein, but the biggest things you're depleting is actually your glycogens. So you need to refuel with a lot of carbohydrates, actually more carbohydrates than protein immediately after lift. So rice is big with that, replacing those glycogens and stuff like that. So we got coaches cooking rice when we lifting and stuff like that. So when they get done lifting, they'll get a bowl of rice. They'll get some beef that Quavon Scott cooks up, and they'll get some rice, some beef. We got Old Bay seasoning and stuff like that, protein on top of that. So they steal a meal because, these athletes, sometimes they go from class to class to class to meeting to weight room. They sometimes don't have time to eat. So get them a hot meal and a good recovery meal afterwards, replace those glycogens. And, we had guys shoot up in body weights in the past at Coastal. Guys were keeping weight on in camp because we were feeding them rice post lifts during camp and stuff like that. So the drop off in body weights wasn't that much when we gave them the rice. The biggest thing is the buy-in, because when they see a bowl of rice, they're like, I don't want no rice. But then you just keep, again, buy-in is everything. You keep preaching of why we giving them the rice. And then you put some seasoning on it, some hot sauce on it, some honey mustard, barbecue sauce on it. And then you got Quavon whooping up with the beef. And, oh, man, yeah, I want some rice. And then, everybody wants their rice. And then protein throughout the day, you try to get them, guys need to gain weight, at least double their protein weight. So if a guy weighs 140, we want him trying to get at least 280 grams of protein throughout the day. If a guy doesn't need to lose weight, if a guy's 200, I still want him to eat 200 grams of protein throughout the day, eating every 3 hours, hydrating and things of that nature and stuff like that, and just keep on harping on it, because the biggest thing is education. Like, athletes come in, they don't know what to eat. They don't know how to eat, how often they should eat. A big guy always thinks, oh, I got to lose weight, so I need to stop eating. Nah, they still need to eat. They still need to eat a lot. They just got to eat cleaner. Still need to eat every 3 hours, regardless if you're trying to gain or lose. If you're trying to gain, of course, eat more. If you're trying to eat, if you're trying to lose, just eat smaller portions every 3 hours and eat better every 3 hours and stuff like that. And just educating them and just harping on the habits and stuff like that. Because we're with these guys 2 hours out of the day. The other 22 is on them. So education is the key, and that's up to us to continue to educate that and stuff like that, because recovery is critical. And if they're not recovered, that's how you get hurt. That's how you come in and you got too much soreness and stuff like that, and you're detraining yourself. So the biggest thing is us as a strength staff making the optimal plan for them to be able to recover to the next day. One, that's the biggest part of recovery. The second part is the sleep. They got to get sleep. And we talk about cyclings and things like that. And then 3 is the nutrition part of it. When you add all 3 from the volume standpoint to the sleep and to the nutrition side of it, man, any athletes, they're going to be dangerous from a development standpoint. But the biggest thing is just to harp on the habits and don't stop harping on it. Like, we'll say the same thing every day. You come into a recruiting visit, I'm saying the exact same thing. Steve Houston saying the exact same thing. Scott Jackson, he's saying the exact same thing. And Quavon Scott, we all speak the same language here, whether it's a football player, a tennis athlete, a basketball player. We're all harping on those same habits, those simple habits, because they're going to build up over time. If you eat fried chicken one time a week, it's not going to hurt you. But over time, you keep eating fried chicken every day, it's going to hurt you and a lot down the line, especially after you get done playing and stuff like that. So the simple things that seem like they're not significant, but over time they really are significant. So that's what we're big on and stuff like that here.
Now, having married into a Filipino household, I can agree with the virtues of rice, man. It's I'm not working out quite like them, which is why I look how I do. But yeah, man, they will tell you all about rice, and it's true. It's true.
No doubt, no doubt.
Oh, well, so one of the things, you've been around, you were at CSU a few years ago, went to Coastal last year, and are now back. And over the course of kind of your career and where you've gone, what have you kind of learned throughout and developed as, just from talking to you now, you're very big on, habits and learning. So what are some of the big things that you've taken away?
The biggest thing, so when I started out in this profession, it was more like I thought it was all about sets and reps. I thought it was all about squatting and running sprints and yelling and up downs and stuff like that. I thought that's what it was all about. But as I progressed from a young intern at the high school level to progressing at Furman, had a lot of great mentors. You know, I was a lot around Coach Schrock at Burns was a great mentor to me, and pretty much got my foot in the door. And he taught me a lot. He said, you know, your passion and your enthusiasm is going to carry you a long way in this profession. Don't stop with that passion. Don't stop with that energy. Don't stop with that enthusiasm. So I know that was a strength of mine that I can carry, even before I really had the knowledge of how to develop as a strength coach. And then over time, I started progressing. I went up to Furman with Dave Abernathy. He's no longer there anymore. And then I got opportunities at Indiana with Keith Caton and Rick Dannison and stuff like that. And I learned from them how they operated and stuff like that. And then got here with Coach Scott, who was big on sets and reps and stuff like that. But he was really big on relationships and relationship building. So I kind of combined all of that. But the biggest thing I learned is sets and reps is very, very minimal in this career. It's very, very, very little of important. It's important, but it's just a little percentage. From the outside looking in, everybody they might think it's all about sets and reps. But really, it's about, can you create buy-in? Are you developing leadership habits? Are you developing people skills? Because we're getting athletes, some might be from Florida, some might be from Georgia, some might be from the suburbs, some might be from a bad part of town, some might have parents in their homes, some might have single-parent homes, some might have no-parent homes. So you got to have different people skills to relate to different type of athletes. And that's going to, again, go back to those relationships. And when you build relationships, that's how you have the buy-in. If we create buy-in as a strength staff, it really doesn't matter what we put on the piece of paper. They're going to run through a brick wall for it, and they're going to work it to their highest capacity with it, because they believe in what we're presenting to them. But if we present something and they don't necessarily trust us, it could be the best program in the world, but if they're not bought into it, it's not going to work. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how knowledgeable you are in this field. I don't care how much you know, how many people you know. I don't care what schools you've been to. If you go to a place and you don't have buy-in, you're just going to fail. So it's all about buy-in first. It's all about leadership development. It's all about those simple daily decisions. It's all about the habits that you're creating, and it's all about people skills and things like that. And most importantly, building those relationships and building those heartstrings. I got players that still hit me up back when I was at Furman. I know strength coaches that I coached when I was a volunteer at Furman that's in strength and conditioning right now that still contact me and say, hey, one day, man, maybe we can get together on a staff. Same thing with Indiana and stuff like that. We're talking about, those are the relationships we talk about. So if I don't keep in contact with these guys after they leave me and I didn't make that impact, if we didn't make that impact as a strength staff, then what did we really do? If all we're known for is sets and reps and development, then what did we really do? Yes, that we do. We will develop you. We will get you bigger. We will get you stronger. We'll get you faster. But most importantly, we want you to be successful in life when you leave here. And we want you to become young men and young women that's going to succeed in society and be leaders, to go on to be coaches, to go on to be doctors, to go on to be lawyers, to go on to be professional athletes, you know, if you're blessed enough to get to that level and stuff like that. So that's the biggest thing that I've learned, that it's really not about the sets and the reps. It's about it. It is about it, but it's really not at the same time, if that makes sense. And so people skills, development, and leadership, that's what we harp on here.
Yeah. So one of the things is over the course of a season, and this is kind of a, you know, over the course of seasons, especially for football, you know, you're out there for 12 weeks plus 12 plus weeks during a season. Those guys are getting beat up every single Saturday, and it applies to all the sports. How do you kind of adjust and change the training programs for the sports in season, as compared to, you mentioned, you're kind of at the start of years, you're trying to figure out, okay, where can we go? How far can we go? And let's get them up to speed. Once you're there, what do you kind of do during a season?
That's a great question, because this is the key to me. Think about it. You said 12 weeks. That's the longest block that we're ever going to have with our football guys, is 12 weeks. In the off season, it's always 7, it's always 8, it's always getting cut. But in season is so critical, because we get that long period of time. And if you talk about postseason, it goes beyond 12 weeks. So obviously development in season it is, in my opinion, more important than the off season. You'll have coaches that'll say, well, we're going to dial down in season. Now, you don't dial down, you reduce the volume, but you still keep the intensity up. We still got to get stronger in season. So the plan is still the plan. We still developing in season. We're still going to lift heavy. We're still going to work speed mechanics. We're still going to have our tempo and our pace, because if we dial down in season, what's going to happen once we get to conference play? What's going to happen once we get to the postseason? We're going to be smoked. We're going to be weak. We're going to be just out of it by that time, and we want to go in tuned up, feeling like a bunch of rocks, feeling ready to roll and making a run during that time. So obviously, the track talks about peaking and stuff like that. You don't want to peak too soon, and you don't want to peak too late. You want to peak at the right time. So obviously, you want to protect your guys and stuff like that, and obviously keep mobility going on. Scott Jackson's really good at mobility and stretching and stuff of that, and soft tissue stuff. He has like a tempering rod, a 150-pound steel rod that he puts on guys' hamstrings and backs just to release the blood and stuff like that. So obviously recovery and harping on nutrition is very vital in season. But training, from a training standpoint, we don't dial down. Like I said, it might be shorter lifts, so the volume might cut a little bit, but the intensity is still up. We still gonna hit 90% in season at least once a month in the cycle. We still gonna lift heavy. Obviously, certain guys might be beat up and you got to dial down, and that obviously goes back to relationships and everything on your eye and adjusting on the fly and stuff like that. But most definitely still train, especially for guys who get redshirted and stuff like that. We want them to lift as much as possible, and they have a Friday lift when the travel guys are out on the field and practicing. We'll have non-travels getting it in the weight room, getting after it, and so they'll be in an extra off-season field and stuff like that. And even guys who get a lot of snaps, having them come in extra on the during the season and stuff like that, just to get extra lifts in between auxiliaries, that GPP and stuff like that, just to keep them strong. Because you're either getting stronger or you're getting weaker. And we don't believe in maintenance around here.
You mentioned reducing the amount of people that can be at the gym at a certain time. What other kind of safety protocols are you guys going through in this COVID era?
Yeah, so guys are going to come in and guys are going to have to wear masks while they're lifting, which is going to be uncomfortable, but we embrace the uncomfortable around here. So in the way that we train them, it's like a hurricane when you come in. It's go, 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 go. So it's going to be a little muggy with that mask on for them, but we'll know they'll be all right with it. It's just best to be safe and stuff like that. And the same with us. In the office, we got to wear masks and stuff when we're around each other, making sure we're cleaning in between lifts. That's going to be the biggest thing. The coaching staff, they got all hands on deck saying in between every lift, between all those groups, they're going to come in and they're going to scrub, they're going to wipe. Athletic trainer got the Clorox 360, they're going to spray and things like that. So obviously making sure everything is clean, mopping with with a certain Virex chemical that we got inside the closet, mopping it, everything like that. So, I mean, you want your weight room clean regardless, but especially now, got to be clean. So we're going to be in here and we're going to put our hard hats on and we're going to scrub. Again, like nutrition-wise, we're not going to have cups out for them to grab. We'll have to give it to them one by one. So you want a bowl of rice? Here's yours. Here's your protein. All right, see you tomorrow. And just give it out one by one versus just having them grab and go and stuff like that. And they'll have to enter one way and exit one way and things of that nature. And, they can't even use, in the first phase, they're not allowed to use the locker room. So they got to bring their stuff with them. So it's different, but we love challenges around here. We love challenges around here because it's only going to make us better. And to me, during these times, it's either going to make you or break you, and it's going to definitely make us because we will come out of it. We believe things will get back normal soon, and we'll just sit around and laugh about it in the next year or two.
And so, got a little bit of a fun question for you. I feel like there's everywhere you go, there's always you go into the gym. There's always the one guy that you're just like, oh my goodness gracious. And so, who's that like gym freak that you've seen over the course of your time doing this? Like, who's that one guy that sticks out? You're like, man, like that's a guy that once he gets in the gym, stay out of his way.
I'll tell you, from a coaching standpoint, I'll tell you an athlete that I've seen over the past few years and before I left is Alex Andronica on the baseball team.
Wow.
That guy he wants to be a Navy SEAL, and he's probably one of the craziest athletes that I've ever encountered. And I mean, he enjoys bell rolls, he enjoys punishment. Yeah, I mean, when we had baseball lift might end at 6 o'clock, and he's gonna, as long as we're in the office, he's going out there and getting extra work, and you better not bother him about it. And it's like you got to kick guys like that outside out the weight room. You know, you got guys like there's another guy, John Cheramani on the football team. He's just a bro. He likes to get it in, flex his muscles, come in and stuff like that. And he's probably the one you're talking about. Like, yeah, he's a gym guy. He's a gym rat, straight meathead. And you got the hard workers like a Justin McIntyre who comes in and you'll catch him out on the field doing some random sprints or hitting a random sled or just coming in the weight room and doing random stuff that he experiments with. So over the course, like especially here, we got some hidden meatheads and stuff like that. But as far as like gym wise at like normal gyms, I guess I typically don't go to normal gyms like that. So I'm always in a collegiate weight room and stuff like that. But so all I got the stories is from like players and stuff like that. The athletes are so funny because you got those ones that you don't know if they want to be a bodybuilder or they want to be a football player. So it's always fun.
You mentioned Indiana, Coastal, CSU, Burns High School, which had a really good stretch run of just dominating the state. Best athlete at any level that you've been around?
Oh, man. Wow. I tell you, I tell you right now, that's really tough. So let's see. In Indiana, it was a guy. It was a few guys at Indiana. It was a linebacker named T. Gray Scales, number 8. He ended up he got a crack at the league. I don't know if he's still playing or not, but he was just a dominant freak. He just worked hard. They told him he was undersized. This his mentality. That was probably one of the best I've seen at Indiana. If you talk about Coastal Carolina, there's a guy there right now that y'all need to check out. Teron Jackson. I've never seen a D lineman with a motor like that before. He'll be getting drafted soon this year, and you couldn't break the guy. He was just a physical freak. He can run, he can jump, he can lift, and most importantly, he can play on the field and things like that. And so, like, he just straight athlete. I mean, probably clock him at a 4'6", 4'7". He's almost 300 pounds and just doesn't have an ounce of body fat on him. It seems like just a physical freak. I don't know if I've seen a Teron Jackson in my career as a strength coach in my life before. So, I mean, the list goes on. We have gut, but Teron Jackson, I tell you, I never seen somebody like him before. And then obviously guys on our squad right here at Charleston Southern right now, you got guys like Chandre Mims, who's just a freak and can run with the best of them and stuff like that. And he's just a freak athlete himself, especially for his size and things of that nature. And a Preston Nichols, big guys who can just move and just maul you over, who can squat 600, pull 600, and they'll run with the best of them. Those guys, those freak athletes and stuff like that. So people sleep on the level that we're at here, and we got freak athletes on this team also. So that was a hard question. I don't see some freaks.
T. Gray Scales was playing for the Dallas Renegades in the XFL this year.
Yeah, that guy's mentality was out of this world.
All right, I think I've got one more for you. So we all see, especially all over social media and all over the country, strength and conditioning coaches are quite possibly, especially when y'all are working, are quite possibly the most terrifying individuals in a room. So when you interview for jobs, do you have to like go through and like scream at inanimate objects and, you know, make them work out? Like, well, what's the interview process like? You go through there and start yelling at them and get them motivated?
Well, I tell you, I've been on all kind of interviews and they all were different. I've been on interviews where I came into a room and you got a round table full of head coaches and they're saying, present us your program. Just like that. Just you walk into the door, you got your suit on, you fresh off of the road, and it's like, hey, how you doing? And they get to the small talk. Now present us your program, and you got to be a coach on the fly. Obviously, everybody wants an energetic strength coach. Everybody wants an energetic strength coach. I think really, in this profession, it's easier actually to interview for a head strength coach position when you're talking to sport coaches because they know what they actually want. You know, you got an idea what they actually want. To me, it's actually harder to interview when you're an assistant and you're getting interviewed by a head strength and conditioning coach because now who's the quote unquote expert? It's the guy that you're interviewing for is that head strength coach. So anything you say, you might say something out of line that you think is important and that's key, and they might think, well, that's dumb. But a head coach, you know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to be the expert in strength and conditioning. And so if they're going in and they think they know more than me, then obviously I lose that battle. So I always think it's just so hard as an assistant to interview for the head, especially if you don't know the head guy priorly and stuff like that. But I mean, it's different. You know, to me, just like how I'm talking to y'all right now, that's how I interview. That's who I am. That's how I interview. I interview just like how I get on the floor and stuff and coach. A lot of energy, enthusiasm, and stuff of that nature and things like that. And the biggest thing, you just want to be yourself. If they want a screamer and you're not a screamer, don't try to be a screamer because they're gonna see right through that. So the biggest thing is you got to be yourself, and you know, if God places you there and wants you there, it's gonna connect regardless and stuff like that. But yeah, I've seen it all. Some guys don't like the screaming. Some guys, if you don't got a lot of energy, then you're definitely not gonna get the job. Got to do a lot of research to know who you're interviewing for and stuff like that and what kind of style they are. And that's another big thing. You don't know what people want because, quote unquote, if you're interviewing for a assistant position, so if I'm interviewing for an assistant position, I don't want 3 or 4 of me's. I want somebody that's going to bring something different to the table. And so if I need a speed guy, I'm not going to hire somebody that's just expertise in strength. If I need a strength guy, I'm not going to hire a guy that doesn't know anything about strength and stuff like that. So you want different varieties of things. And the biggest thing is, what can you bring to the table that's going to separate you from the rest of the field and stuff like that. So a lot of people got misperceptions of strength and conditioning coaches and stuff like that. You see guys on the field acting crazy and stuff like that. And we do get hyped up. But, you know, you taught us in a setting, you know, it's method behind our madness with programming and science and stuff like that, and just the art of it and all of that. So just be yourself, and if you get the job, it's meant for you. And if you don't get it, you just got to keep on grinding. But if you're not, like I said, if you're not that guy that's gonna go around and do backflips, don't try to do the backflips on the interview.
I got one more for you, and then I'm done. What you benching right now?
Oh man, listen, my bench ain't where it is, where I need to be right now, and I haven't even tried to max. I'll tell you this though, I'm more of a bigger of a deadlifter and a squatter. Fun story, I actually had a hernia back in August when I was at Coastal during
This is a fun story?
Yeah. So I actually had a hernia, an inguinal hernia, and back in the summertime, and it probably started back when I was at Charleston Southern. I just didn't get it fixed. And so when I got to Coastal, it just kept getting worse. And when we got to fall camp, it was like, man, my stomach hurting, my intestines started twisting. I had to go to the doctor to get it sewed up. I finally got it sewed up. I actually stopped lifting for like about 2 or 3 months because really the bench presses what hurt it more than the squats and the pulls. But I started slowly, gradually increasing and not getting too carried away with it. And then, so I had surgery in August, and then I say October. Yeah, October, when I started actually lifting again, and we did Squat-tober as a staff at Coastal. And I got under the bar and I squatted 555, fresh off not too long removed from hernia surgery, which it was impressive. I impressed myself because, I was thinking like, well, I don't know what I'm about to do, but I'm not about to be the one that the weak link and say, oh, I can't squat because of my hernia. Whatever happened was going to happen. and so I hit 555, and I'm actually about 20 to 30 pounds lighter than I was when I left Charleston Southern to go to Coastal and stuff like that. But that's a good question. Now you make me want to get back in it, to get my bench back up, because I tell you the truth, I don't know where my bench at right now. I know my last max was probably around nothing but like 350, 360 or something like that, probably about a year ago or something like that. But I know if I could get trained right, I get 400 plus if I get back on my routine like I need to bench wise. But I'm a big deadlifter and a big squatter. I love to squat and deadlift. Everybody thinks I love the bench, but it's really my least favorite thing to do.
Everyone knows the power's in the trunk and the core anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, I think that's everything for you. Thanks for joining us, Brandon. It was awesome talking with you and kind of getting to know what the plans are going forward, and it was just a great chat with you.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and I enjoy it. We need to do this some more.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Let's chop it up. You know.
All right, I'm ready. I'm trying to get some strength back, so I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this.
You know where we at.
We'll need you. We'll have you put together a broadcast team program for everybody. There you go.
Hey, let's get it. Let's get it.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. We appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a blessed one.
That was Brandon Gilbert, the Director of Strength and Conditioning. And we mentioned at the start, he's awesome. He's energetic. He just loves being around these student athletes, and he loves what he does.
Yeah, it's part of what makes being at CSU fun. I don't really know anybody that I work with or work around that hates their job or hates being there, and that's what makes it so fun. And, everybody has a job where a coworker's like, I want to be here. I don't think there's anybody like that at CSU.
No, there's really not. And we could certainly say that it's not Brandon. He's a guy I feel like he could motivate a brick wall to go and get a workout in, I feel like.
Yeah, he should. I'm going to text him later and just be like, please tell me to go ahead and work out because I'm slacking today. Hence the McFlurry.
That's where the reference came on. But
yes,
it was great talking to Brandon. It was really great getting to talk to him. Can't wait to get back and spend some time with him on campus. And before we continue on, want to remember East Bay Deli, our presenting sponsor. Big thank you to them for helping us put this on. And we're going to go over to our second guest, who is another one, a very important person in the background. It's Steele Morris, assistant athletic trainer. He specializes in football. And it was really great talking to him. He's got a lot of really helpful information.
Yeah, this is the one that I've been trying to get with the most, just to let everybody know how much thought, detail has gone into the process of trying to get people back on campus. This isn't just, we need people back on campus, let's go. No, there has been a lot of work behind the scenes to make this happen. And like I said, it comforted me a bit because it's natural to worry in a time like this. And I feel a bit better after our talk.
Yeah, it was great getting to chat with him, and you all will get to hear what he has to say. A lot of really important stuff, and really, again, before we even get to it, we mentioned it a couple times, but a big thank you to everybody that's over on campus right now and that have been on campus, just trying to get everything prepared for this, as it's been a very long, very stressful, and a very complex situation to deal with.
Yeah, from Dr. Costin on down, I feel like they've been pretty transparent to us about what they're trying to do, how they're getting there, and where they stand at certain moments. And it's been great to deal with and great to help, to be a part of. So thank you to all that.
Big thanks to them. And so we'll get going on to it. Here's Steele Morris, assistant athletic trainer. We want to welcome in our second guest of this week, the Back to Play episode that Nick and I have dubbed it. And our second guest coming in, it's going to be Steele Morris, the assistant athletic trainer, for the football team. And he's the one really in charge of everything there. And Steele, first off, how have you been? What have you been up to? Kind of the basic question we've been asking everybody when we welcome them on.
Hey, so thanks for having me on. This period of time has definitely been a challenge for everyone on campus, but we've been taking the past 2 to 3 months to really take the information that we are getting from the CDC, from the NCAA, and compile all of that to create the safest, based on the recommendations, return to athletics that we possibly can for our student athletes here at CSU.
More importantly, how have you been?
It has been some late nights, and when I say some, I mean quite a few. And working alongside the rest of the staff, and Brad Drake is the associate athletic director for medical services. We've all kind of been through the ringer and have continued to read the same things over and over again. So I feel like I have certain pages ingrained in my memory. So I might need a little bit of some mental health appointments after this just to cope with everything, but it's been worth it to be able to see a plan come together.
We'll definitely have to get you some R&R after all this settles down.
Get you some ice cream and a nice chair to sit in for a couple days.
I think we can arrange that.
Well, we'll kind of get right into it, and really we want to first off thank you for taking some time out of your day, as we know that you and Brad Drake, just all of you over in athletic training, just crazy busy, especially now getting ready for everybody to come back. So what are the kind of the main things that you guys are doing in preparation to get both the football team and the rest of these student athletes and just, students in general back on campus?
Yeah, so focusing really on student athletes here for just a moment. And the biggest thing that we can do at this point in time is to continue to educate. We can think that we are in control of scenarios, but at the end of the day, we have to rely on our student athletes to do what's right based on the education that we're providing for them. So if we are not doing our due diligence and educating the student athletes on the necessity of following the protocol, of following these precautions that are being put out by these national groups, our job is for naught. We have to be able to educate them on what steps to take for this to be successful. That's really the name of this game. We've got a plan that is in place that we think is going to fit the needs of the campus, of the student athletes, of our community. But really, it's going to be a team effort from our staff, our coaches, and our student population to make sure that this is a effective plan.
Now, we've all been through it, the testing protocols and all, and then Killian and I have been through when you get to the office every day protocols. Kind of walk us through of, after the testing, what does a day-by-day look like for people arriving on campus?
Definitely. So at this point today, actually, we had a number of student athletes report back to campus for move-in. So we sent them pre-campus screens about a week ago. We send those 7 days in advance to see what symptoms they're experiencing at home, if they've had any close contacts with known or suspected COVID-19 cases. We reviewed all of those responses with our team physicians before they've even reported to campus. That's step one for us in this process. Step two, at least for the move-in aspect, is screening them today. We just got done with 9 hours of screening right along with Residence Life. We have communicated with them greatly on the student athletes' needs for the return to campus from a housing perspective. So working alongside them, screening not only the student athletes, but the 2 individuals that we allowed to go into the dorms to help them move in. Essential that we're providing a safe environment by not allowing symptomatic individuals into that environment. Now from there, we're actually having a group, Federal Healthcare Network, come out to Charleston Southern University to perform COVID-19 testing for all of these student athletes. They have been essential in this process. They were a clinic that were able to meet our needs from a number aspect and also from a convenience aspect by having a mobile testing site set up in our own Fieldhouse parking lot next to the Buck Dome. So they'll be out here tomorrow running our student athletes and our staff members through COVID-19 testing. And at that point, we'll go into a self-quarantine state. And again, this is where really us educating the student athletes has been essential in this plan working, because we have to make sure that they understand to stay within their group and their inner bubble. They have their own suite mates that they are allowed to be with at this point, so that if we have positive tests, we can control, or at least attempt to control, any potential transmission just from close contacts and exposure. We hope to get those tests back in a couple of days and get these student athletes out of that quarantine and back into some form of collegiate athletics with strength and conditioning, and making sure that we are training them in preparation for a season instead of just tossing them straight out to the wolves.
Roughly, what is the number of students that you guys have, helped out and dealt with today? Off the top of your head, obviously, I don't think you're going to have an exact number, but just kind of an idea, ballpark coming to your back.
So right now we worked with 156 student athletes today with the move-in screening. And this is something that, again, we've been working with these said individuals for a week at this point, and setting up, again, their pre-screens and arranging those coming in, taking them through those protocols, and setting testing times for tomorrow.
Looking forward to next week when hopefully everybody passes and people report to campus. What is their daily procedure for checking in and going about their business?
Yeah, so once we get through this testing process and we have placed those individuals that have tested positive or have come in close contact with a positive case through the protocol, those individuals that are able to come out of self-quarantine are going to be screened daily from our athletic training staff. They will report over for their lift group, again, in a pre-assigned group of individuals, so that we can ensure that we're trying to control their groupings and their exposure. So they'll come see our staff, they'll go through a symptom check. We'll ask them if they have any of these 12 symptoms that are listed out by the CDC. We'll take them through a temperature screen, and we will send them on their way. We want to make sure that we are keeping constant track of their symptoms, just to try to catch any possible changes and possible positive cases before the exposure occurs across a large group of individuals.
And so we mentioned you're kind of head of football, and we're moving more towards football season, and really the big question mark, surrounding it. But what is your job going to look like going forward for this football season? Are there any changes to how your procedures are going when you're out there on the field? Can you walk us through any of that?
Yeah, so I appreciate the head of football. I wish that I could take that title. That will fall under Brad Drake still at this point. But working obviously very closely with him, with the football program and our 2 intern athletic trainers that we hire on an annual basis, it's going to be essential as we move forward for football in particular. Really, Killian, we're working on trying to get through phase 1 at this point. We have it structured at this point to get us to phase 3 based on, again, the recommendations that are put out there from the NCAA, kind of teaming along with the CDC as we look out into phase 2 and phase 3 as we kind of go back into quote unquote normal. But it's really going to be one of those scenarios that we have to look at the challenges that we're going to encounter, such as just having water out at practice. What's the safest way to make sure that these student athletes are hydrated while having a decreased risk of transmission? We don't know what that looks like a month and a half from now, but based on the research that we're being given at that point, we'll make the educated decision to best suit our student athletes' health.
I know you guys aren't flying by the seat of your pants from this. I know I've talked to you about some things, for making broadcasts safer. Where are you getting a lot of your communication from?
Yeah, so we're relying on communication from a large variety of sources. The number one being the CDC. CDC just kind of being that national standard of what the recommendations are from a self-quarantine, from a testing standpoint, from returning student athletes, or really the general population out of a isolation period. They are the most crucial point of contact for us. Most of our recommendations are directly from their writings and their protocols. We also look at the NCAA and the recommendations that Dr. Hainline has put out. He's the chief medical officer for NCAA, and we rely on that information greatly. From the NCAA, we're also looking at the National Athletic Training Association Sports Science Institute and what they have put out, the National Athletic Training Association and the information that they're providing. That is our organization that we are a part of, and the information that we gather from them is coming from athletic trainers across the country, and is information that is very crucial in the return to athletics in a safe manner for the student athletes. And at the end of the day, we're also looking at the Big South as well. there are numerous meetings from a Big South perspective that are taking place from from testing individuals and the return to campus to referees blowing whistles on a field and how that might affect the competition and possible exposure. So we go from a grand scale of things with testing all the way down to the minute aspects of a referee blowing a whistle or volleyball switching sides during competition. Those are all things that we have to look at to be able to decrease the risk of transmission and exposure.
And so your guys' job, it really is, you're trying to figure out how to do just a little bit of everything with, as much information as you have. So I can imagine this entire process has not been easy for you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely been a process that we have not been able to take on in one night, just like the rest of the country hasn't. It's been something that we've had to, I say slowly, it has been long days, so not really slowly, but we have continued to nip away at, continued to look at the research that's out there and those best recommendations and compose those, because at the end of the day, this can be about athletics, all we want it to be. But we know that that's not the case within our department. Within our department, our mindset is that athletics can't take place unless the safety and well-being of the student athlete is put first. So that is our goal.
Day to day, what's the biggest change this has brought about for your job?
The biggest change that this has brought about for my job is not having contact with the student athletes. That is really why I think that the majority of athletic trainers get into athletic training. It's provided an opportunity for us to work more directly with our team physicians in creating the return to sport protocol for athletics. So that is a very good thing, being able to have Zoom calls regularly with them to make sure that we are all on the same page. And those physicians at South Carolina Sports Medicine, Dr. Holvey, Dr. Windler, and all of those on that crew have been super beneficial for this process. But again, going back to the student athletes, I've got 9 to 10 treatment tables right here that are empty. That at this stage of the game, we'd be looking at summer conditioning, rehabs, and protocols that we'd be putting in place to prepare them for the season. And that is honestly the hardest transition in this, in controlling and producing a plan for our current scenario.
So kind of a little bit more of a kind of a laid back question, more of a fun question. We asked this one earlier on to our other guest, Brandon Gilbert. And so we mentioned who he's in charge of the gym and everything like that. And we asked him, okay, so who's kind of the biggest gym freak that he's seen? Who's the most freak athlete that you've seen in your time so far?
Now, when we say freak athlete, we mean on the field or in the athletic training room, because there's a difference between the two.
I feel like probably on the field. I don't think we can talk too much about in the athletic training room. I don't think. I'm not sure the rules on that one.
We can't talk about specifics there. We do have individuals that are in here constantly. We do have our individuals that have frequent flyer miles for sure, coming in here and just getting the basics like Normatec recovery, good flush massage, things like that. On the field, since my time being back at TSU, the individual that I would say has stuck out the most to me from Charleston Southern has been Bobby Ruff. He really just was one of the leanest individuals at linebacker that I've come in contact with, and just had a go, go, go mentality. So he's an individual that since I've been back on campus since 2017 has made an impact for me on the field.
What have you done to relax this whole time? Because I know you are about as frontline as it gets for something like this right now.
Yeah, so I think that in the moments that I can get to relax, my 5-year-old son Bryant is really I apologize. He has really been a great source of stress relief for me. Being able to go out and play with him. We were just throwing a football yesterday, and he's getting to the point that he can catch it really well. And taking in those moments is something that definitely is a way for me to de-stress. If it's not there, it's staying up late watching things on Disney Plus, being a huge Disney fan with my wife Jessica, or I will be outside grilling Those are kind of the three places that you can find me.
How many times have you watched Hamilton so far?
I have not had an opportunity to take 2 hours and 45 minutes to sit down and enjoy it at this point. Ask me in a year and a half, and I might have watched it at that point.
Yeah, my wife and I were trying to watch it over the 4th of July weekend, and every night it was like, oh, this is how long? So we finally watched the other night, and it's good. But trying to find almost 3 hours of time to chew out, it's not easy.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's why it's a play. You can cut it up into the acts for you. Watch little bits and pieces here and there.
There is an intermission halfway through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, Steele, I don't know if you got anything else for him, Nick.
No. You guys are, like I said, you guys are key to making sure that everything happens, and no pressure. But we really thank the work that you guys have been doing, and if there's anything we can do to help other than staying away from other people, please let us know. And if there's anything you want to put out there to everyone to kind of keep them safe, or any advice, now's your time. Go ahead, let them know.
Perfect. At the end of the day, this really can't happen without all of the individuals on the university pandemic task force team. This ranges all the way from athletics to housing to dining to academics, all the way to facilities. We've got every single department on campus working their hearts out to try to create a safe environment for the students to return to campus. So I appreciate every one of those individuals, first of all. The other thing that I would say is there are precautions out there for a reason from the CDC, and we have to do our part as a community to create an environment that's not only safe for ourselves, but safe for those around us. So please do your part in following those precautions, again, to protect yourself, protect others, and to protect athletics and get some student athletes back in here on these tables.
We want football, we want soccer, we want volleyball. Let's all wear our masks and wash our hands and make it happen, right?
Without a doubt.
Awesome. All righty. Well, we certainly will. I can know that I, at least myself, I will be wearing my mask every possible point because I'm ready for some football to be back. I'm ready for college sports to be back as a whole. Miss all of that, and I certainly miss being able to be around you guys. And again, thank you for taking your time, and thank you for everything that you've been doing, Steele. Just being on the front lines and helping get everything going in the right direction. One of the kind of the behind the scenes people that a lot of people out in the public don't really see all that work that you put in, and you guys in your office.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. A big thank you to Steele Morris for coming in and talking to us. And, hopefully we don't sound too muffled, but, we are wearing our masks. We're doing our part. And big thank you for these masks from the university as a whole.
Yeah, these are given out to faculty, staff, and more. And as part of what Steele said, wear the mask. And they're trying to eliminate that excuse of not being able to get one. And I think that's great. And they look pretty fancy.
Yeah, they certainly do. Nice fit to them, good feel, and more importantly, it does its job. But we'll take these off for right now so you guys can at least hopefully a little better hear us and see us because we are in the comfort of our own homes. But again, a big reminder, make sure you wear your mask, and really just great information from Steele as a whole. As we mentioned, he's one of those guys, he's right there on the front lines, and in that entire athletic training office, they're getting everything right from the higher ups, and they're doing everything, right to the T, and they're doing it the best they can.
Yeah, from the CDC on down through the NCAA to local officials, they're consulting with everyone to try to make sure this is done right, done safely, to keep everyone healthy. And it goes beyond just wanting sports, because we all want sports, but it goes to the fact that we're all humans, we're all people, and we want to make sure that, we care about these players. We want to make sure they're safe. We care about the people we work with. We want to make sure they're safe. It's not just about getting sports back as much as our livelihood needs that. It's about making sure people are safe, and that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, sports are a comfort thing, and they're one of the things that we love having around, but none of it really matters if we don't have the people around to be able to do it and be able to enjoy it with. So a big thank you to Steele and everybody over in that office. Brad Drake, who's leading the charge over there, the associate athletic director in charge of it all. So big thanks to all of them. Thank you for them spending their time and Steele taking time out of his extremely busy day to chat with us for a little bit.
I know he was there early and often today, getting things set up. And yeah, we squeezed him in when we could, and it was later in the day than we're used to, but it was worth it to get that kind of perspective, to fit him in and to inform you. And as much as we thank them, we thank you for watching every week. I hope you've enjoyed this one.
Yeah. Well, I think that's everything for you. For my partner, Nick Case, my name is Killian McClatchy. Thank you for joining us. And don't forget, wear your masks, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bucks win. Bucks win.